Would you like a blue fresh aquatic fragrance, or would you like a blue fresh aquatic fragrance? Or could I maybe interest you in a fresh blue aquatic fragrance, or even a couple other fresh blue aquatic fragrances? You guys asked, and I got some bangers to share with you today. We're going to be covering 20 summer fragrances that are going to be very unique. They're going to be great value for their price, and I want to say a lot of them are at or under that $50 price tag. So if you got a little bit of cash lying around, definitely pick up some of these, because a lot of them you can find for a really good price. So if you're in the mood for discovering some summer hidden gems, stick around, make yourself comfortable, and let's jump right in. How's it going, everyone? I'm Eli with Common Sense, and it is wonderful to have you today. We're going to be covering 20 fragrances, so let's jump right in. First up is a fragrance that nobody really talks about, and this one is from the house of Ayat, and it's called Jealousy. It's got this beautiful aqua bottle, and it's going to be a twist on Louis Vuitton's Matière Noire. So this is going to be a beautiful, syrupy, jammy rose. You also have some black currant and some beautiful aquatic florals in here. So it's going to smell very aquatic, very feminine, and you know, if you like that feminine Louis Vuitton vibe, then this is going to be a perfect choice. But I myself as a guy love wearing floral aquatic fragrances, especially after the shower, and sometimes you just want to smell nice and floral. So this one does an amazing job, and it does smell very unisex, just leaning a little bit feminine, and that one is Ayat Jealousy. Next up is a similarly colored bottle, and this one can be easily found almost anywhere, and this one is Azzaro's Chrome Aqua. This one has such a beautiful quality to it. It's almost like an incense vibe, and it smells very similar to Tom Ford's Costa Azzurra. So it's got that beautiful kind of driftwood. It's got some musks in there. It's a little bit green and herbal. It's a really interesting aquatic woody fragrance without smelling super citrusy and sweet like a lot of the popular designers. So this is going to be a step in the more niche direction, and so it's a great choice for this heat, and that one is Azzaro's Chrome Aqua. Now, where that one was more of a mature kind of aquatic, this one is going to be one of the most youthful and just fun smelling fragrances for about the $15 price tag, and this one is Caribbean Joe's Turquoise Waters. This stuff smells absolutely incredible. It's youthful, and it's got a pressurized atomizer, which is really a plus in my book. This basically smells like a more fruity and tropical version of Creed Aventus. So you have some of that kind of smoky birch, but at the same time you have a refreshing pineapple, and you also have some gourmand notes in here that almost make it smell just like a fun state fair. So it almost just smells like you're walking around with shaved ice. You have a little bit of that Creed Aventus inspiration, and it really just does smell fruity and absolutely amazing for the price. And that one is Caribbean Joe's Turquoise Waters. Next up, I was actually going to talk about a fragrance that I hadn't picked up in about 3 to 4 years off my shelf, and it's a little bit obscure, and I was going to talk about Star Wars Jedi Man. However, for some reason, these bottles are discontinued, and they're going for like $200–300 on eBay. So after I filmed the video, I realized that you really couldn't get them anymore, so I'm gonna replace them with this one. Instead, check out this 2023 release from Guess, and this one is Uomo Aqua. This is going to be a nice twist to that Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette DNA, and it reminds me a little bit of Armaf's Aura Fresh. So it has a little bit of that nice woody kind of oceanic salty woods, and it also has a beautiful lemon. It's got some cucumber and some cardamom, so it has a little bit of a sweetness and like a tonka vanilla sweetness, but it also has a very nice woody, slightly piney touch, and it also has some sage in there. So really, it just smells really fresh, invigorating, energetic, slightly salty, and just definitely mass pleasing, and I don't think you're gonna really regret picking this one up. That one is Guess Uomo Aqua. This next one is one of my favorite cheapies, and this one is English Laundry's Riviera. So English Laundry is a wonderful inspired by fragrance company, and this one was inspired by Yves Saint Laurent's L'Homme. So it's going to be a very sweet fragrance. It's going to be smooth and just very creamy. This one uses a ton of different notes, and it basically updates that DNA, makes it smell a little bit more floral and definitely a lot more sweet. So whereas that one is more ginger heavy, this one just has some really nice waxy florals in there that make it smell way smoother and a little bit more of an upgrade. And it's like $13 if you can find it at the rack stores, or about $30 if you can find it online. But heavily slept on, and if you see this one in your rack stores, definitely pick it up. That one is English Laundry's Riviera. This next one is going to be a perfect summer date night fragrance, and this is a new fragrance pickup that I got, and this one is from Issey Miyake, and this one is L'Eau d'Issey Pour Homme Intense. There's a lot of different fragrances from this house, but this one is actually one of my favorites. It's got a very smoky incense vibe going on, but it still smells very aquatic and just very regal smelling. It's definitely got like a dark spicy vibe going on, a little bit more of a smoky woody touch and some really moody notes in here, but it still has that beautiful citrusy magic in the original L'Odyssée pour Homme. But yeah, this stuff just smells absolutely heavenly, and it's a really good price, and that one is L'Odyssée pour Homme Intense. And speaking of citrusy summer kind of smoky fragrances, this next one is a similar vibe, but it does it in a really cool way. This one is Coach for Men, just the black version. It's one of the best $30 that you can spend at, you know, a fragrance discounter, and this stuff is just magical. This has such a fruity kumquat vibe, and I feel like there's also some tonka and a nice bit of sweetness and a little bit of a smoky leather accord, which just smells very expensive smelling, and it really is a compliment getter. And I remember wearing this one like crazy in the summer of 2020 when everybody was locked up. I still put a ton of efforts into my outfits and just wanted to smell really good and basically just stunt on myself. But if you want a seriously underrated fragrance, then go with Coach for Men, and this stuff really is going to get you some compliments. Next up is actually one that has a lot of sentimental value to me, and this one is the first fragrance that I actually ever purchased. This is Azzaro Chrome Legend, and this fragrance is basically summer in a bottle for me. At least it was for me, because I wore it all the time and I discovered it in the summer. It's got such a sweet tonka. It's also got some green tea, crisp apple, and some pepper in here, and sandalwood. And it really does just smell like a nice, creamy, sporty fragrance with a nice blast of sweetness without being too overbearing. It just smells very youthful. It is synthetic, but it is a head turner for sure, because it's just not something that you encounter all the time. It's a really nice upgrade to the original Azzaro Chrome DNA, which not the biggest fan of, but I gotta say, this is one of my favorite twists to that DNA, and that one is Azzaro Chrome Legend. Not to mention, you can find this one all the time at your rack stores, and you're gonna be set. Speaking of rack store fragrances, this next one is a new rack store find that I just cannot stop wearing. This one is Tommy Hilfiger's Vibrant Summer. There is such a beautiful, just coconutty, just fresh vibe coming from this fragrance. It basically reminds me of that Jean Paul Gaultier Le Beau DNA, but with a little bit more of an updated twist. You have some like rosemary and some more just woody nuances in this that make it smell absolutely incredible. It's got a beautiful sweetness, it's aquatic, and it really does just smell relaxing, and basically a hybrid between Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Beau and also Creed's Virgin Island Water, and it's a really good price. That one is Tommy Hilfiger's Vibrant Summer. And speaking of Creed Virgin Island Water fragrances, next up is Barrett Fragrances Cabo Coast. This one is going to be a twist and a dupe on that Creed Virgin Island Water DNA, and it does it so close. This stuff basically smells like a vacation in a bottle. It's just a fun fragrance in general. This stuff has some really nice creamy coconut and a very bright salty lime in the opening, and so it's also got like a gin accord going on too, but it really does just smell like you're on an expensive cruise. And this stuff is an extrait de parfum, and it will last you a good 10 to 12 hours, no question. You can even get this one for about 40 bucks online, and if you use the code COMMONSCENTS, you can save 20% on all of your orders from Barrett Fragrances. But yeah, this is one of my favorite ones to wear and just pick up when you want to smell creamy, you want to smell fun, and it's just a really good weekend or like wash your car fragrance, or just go run errands. Really good stuff, and that one is Barrett Fragrances Cabo Coast. This next one is one of my favorite new unisex fragrances that I've discovered, and this one is Hekayat Perfumes Wild Amber. So this fragrance is such a beautiful floral and just sweet, citrusy, smooth, silky fragrance, and it reminds me a lot of the Xerjoff Herba Pura fragrance, with a little bit of an inspiration from the Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Baccarat Rouge 540. I feel like this is a good kind of balance between them, and I love how this stuff just smells as you walk around. So it leaves a nice trail behind you. It's very sweet, it's very floral, intoxicating, and it just smells so creamy and good, especially in this summer heat. And I feel like there could also be a little bit of like a vanilla or a caramel vibe going on, but it's really gourmand and sweet stuff that just smells beautiful for anyone. And that one is a Hekayat's Wild Amber. This next one you can actually find for 15 bucks at your rack stores, and man, I gotta say, when I sprayed this one on my skin, I immediately knew that I had to purchase it. And this one is Monarch. I believe it's by Camara Perfumes. gonna fact check that right after this video. This is such a nice, uplifting, and bright white t-shirt fragrance. So you're gonna have some beautiful aquatic kind of grapefruit, and you also have a blast of some like musky, just creamy, waxy white florals in here. So it's gonna smell very similar to Lacoste L1212 Blanc, the white bottle. And I feel like this basically does that DNA and adds a little bit of a twist on it and takes some inspiration from Cool Water or Creed's Green Irish Tweed. So it really does smell like a nice blend between those two, and it's very clean and soapy smelling. And that one is just Monarch. Not to mention, pressurized atomizer, and it's a Dubai fragrance brand. You really cannot go wrong. Speaking of Davidoff Cool Water, if you're a fan of that one and you want a more marine and aquatic version of that, then check out this fragrance. This one is Davidoff's Cool Water Ocean Extreme. This is their limited edition bottle, and I have seen this one popping up here and there at some different stores and on Mercari, so if you see it, definitely pick it up. This adds a very mineralic and seaweed accord to that original Cool Water DNA. So it smells a little bit less green, and it instead smells more creamy and a little bit more marine-like. This also has like a sea salt vibe and almost like a driftwood accord, and it really does add a little bit of some ambroxan or ambergris that makes it smell way more marine-like and way more modern smelling than the original Cool Water. And that one is Davidoff Cool Water Ocean Extreme. Speaking of blue oceanic fragrances, this next one is really cool, and I'm so glad I discovered it. This one is from the house of Syren, and this one is Blue Caviar. They actually have these cool little pearls in here that rattle around, and it's just a cool little touch. It's more of a reason to love this fragrance. Just like shake it around all day. But this fragrance is a nice salty soapy fragrance, and it reminds me a lot of the Dunhill fragrances. So there's definitely some stuff out there that will remind you of this fragrance, almost like a Prada Luna Rosa, the white bottle, but I feel like it adds a little bit of that salty caviar note that kind of sets it apart from those, and it just makes it smell absolutely incredible. Got some lavender and some nice kind of white florals in here with a nice kind of warm sweetness to it, but it's a nice sweet and soapy fragrance that's not going to be too in your face. It's going to be more of a soft kind of musky soapiness with a nice unique edge from that caviar note in here. So that one is Syren's Blue Caviar. Next up, if you want to smell like an orange dreamsicle, I've got the fragrance for you. This is from the house of Lolita Lempicka, and this one is Green Lover. So I discovered this fragrance, I think it was last summer, and it's about time for me to pull this out again. It just smells like a beautiful orange mandarin vibe. It's got a creamy vanilla in here, and you also have some gin and other green notes. And so with a name like Green Lever, I almost feel like it would be more of a forest vibe or some just more green earthy notes, but this is more of a sweet, refreshing orange and citrus with a nice hint of that musky kind of vanilla. And what's funny is it's a little bit woody too, so it almost just smells like you just unwrapped your orange dreamsicle. You got that orange, you got the cream, and you got the wood from the popsicle stick. That's basically what you're getting with this. And that one is Lolita Lempicka's Green Lover. Next up is a new fragrance house that I've actually been seeing popping up at the rack stores, and it's kind of been blowing up on TikTok and social media. This one is from the house of Miim Miic, and this one is going to be their Compound 27, and this is a blend of wood and spice. You have some really refreshing aquatic notes in here. It's blue, and it reminds me of that just nice lavender, that pepper, and the ambroxan with the bergamot from both of those fragrances that I mentioned earlier. But this one's really nice. You have some of that green wood spice that it says, so it's a little bit peppery, and it just smells very close to those two fragrances for $15. And it's been a while since I've worn this one, but right off the top of my head, I want to say it lasted over that 7-hour mark, so it's really good stuff for the price. And that one is Miim Miic's Compound 27. This next one is from the house of Perry Ellis, and Perry Ellis makes some very safe, affordable rack store fragrances. A lot of them smell like they're at that $20 mark. They're not always the greatest quality, but this one I actually really enjoy, and I don't mind spending that $20 at all. This one is Perry Ellis's Pure Blue, and there's something just so refreshing and crisp about the opening in this, because you got some green crisp apple, you got some grapefruit in here, so it's gonna smell clean and just very citrusy, and it really just does smell like a nice men's body wash of some sort. So you're gonna smell clean, you're gonna smell soapy, and it's just a really nice, affordable, just blue blue soapy shower gel fragrance that I feel like anybody's gonna like. This is a really good blind grab fragrance, and if you like the Nautica Voyage fragrance, then I think you'll like this one. It just kind of smells like an updated version of that while smelling a little bit better, in my opinion. And that one is Perry Ellis Bold Blue. Speaking of Nautica Voyage, this is a way better version in my opinion. This is Nautica Voyage Heritage. So this is a flanker that came out a while back, and I gotta say it smells way better than the original. It's got that nice kind of sandalwood, creamy Gaiac wood sweetness. It's got some elemi in there, and it also has a little bit of a medicinal lavender and mint. Yeah, this smells like a very aquatic fragrance while still smelling very creamy and more mature. So I feel like if this wasn't in the Nautica bottle, if this was in a niche fragrance bottle, then you could definitely fool some people, because at least the notes that they pick in this together, they smell really unique. And it's not the most expensive smelling fragrance because it's from Nautica, but I think they do it really well. And at least the fragrance DNA that they're creating in this bottle, I think it is absolutely fantastic and way more unique than the original. And that one is Nautica Voyage Heritage. Our second to last fragrance is definitely one that you've found at your rack stores. You've seen it, you probably passed on it, but if you haven't purchased this one, please consider picking it up. This one is Tommy Bahama's Saint Kitts, and it is such an underrated cheapie, and a lot of people have bought this one because it's so cheap, but if you haven't bought it, you're definitely missing out. This has such a fun and unique opening to it because it's got some star fruit, it's got some lime, and it's like a salty, just aquatic fragrance that smells absolutely heavenly. It also projects like crazy, and because it's so cheap, you can just spray yourself like 12 or 20 times if you want to, and you're gonna be smelling so good for about that like 5 to 6 hour mark. This is actually one of my favorite fragrances to carry along in my travel bag. So if I'm on a vacation, I just want to smell fun. I want to smell like I woke up at a nice hotel resort, you know, just chilling by the pool or by the beach, just sticking your toes up and just soaking up some sun. And Tommy Bahama really is good at making these fresh tropical fragrances. That's basically their specialty. That's what I get out of this one. It's a very salty and fun tropical vacation fragrance. And that one is Tommy Bahama's Saint Kitts. And last but not least, we're looking at a Middle Eastern fragrance, and this one is from the house of Wataniah, and this one is Lazuli. This has such a beautiful blue, just kind of sapphire looking bottle to it, and it just smells absolutely incredible. This is going to be a twist on Tom Ford's Neroli Portofino, and it does it so incredibly close that it really is kind of scary. And I've tested these side by side. I've done a comparison video to them, and it really just does smell incredible for the price. It's about $25 to $30, and this one's gonna last you about 12 hours in terms of longevity, and it does die off a little bit quicker just because some of those kind of fresh notes do tend to die off faster just based off of their chemistry, but longevity wise, you're still gonna smell it on your skin and on your clothes about that 12 hours later. And you just have some beautiful lime, you have some citruses and some neroli in here, and it smells a little bit green, and it just kind of smells like the orange blossoms blooming in the spring. But it really is just a heavenly sweet neroli based fragrance that's gonna make you smell very soapy and relaxing for this summer. And that one is Al Wataniah's Lazuli. So there we have it, summer fragrances. You asked for some, and I just threw a ton of them at you to give you options. They're all affordable, and I think any of these that you pick, you're gonna love no matter what. So if you've tried any of these, let me know down below, and if you have any recommendations that you think I should check out or include in my next summer affordable video, let me know, because I'd love to share them. Thank you so much for checking out the video. If you were new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I love making fragrance related content and just sharing these hidden gems with you. I have been Eli with Common Sense, and until the next time, bye-bye. Would you like a blue fresh aquatic fragrance, or even a couple other fresh blue aquatic fragrances? Guys, I think I've discovered that I like fragrances with blue bottles.